Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody's found their seat and is comfortable. And I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Tamás.
Hello. Woo! Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hello. This is going to be a tiny bit awkward because Michal before me, before lunch, spoke about the same subject. And I'm very happy he did because it is something that we do not speak enough about in the industry. I got a little thing, sorry. Is this starts immediately? Nope. Very cool, thank you. So, I am Tamás Danch, and I am a project art director at Digic. I am also the group head of the concept art division, concept art unit within the art division. So I work a lot with people like you. Can I get like a show of hands? Who is a concept artist or who works in like very cool environment artists, level designers? Okay. This is probably going to be like a good talk to anyone who is in the creative industry, but especially for you guys because you are the people I work with the most. So what happens here is that I worked on, Rainbow Six Siege and basically on the trailers that we did for it. Digic makes, high quality CGI animatics for AAA games like Call of Duty, we did Vanguard cinematics, we did Cold War cinematics, Destiny I worked on. And so one of the things that happens when you work on AAA projects is that as an art director, you plan, you execute, and you supervise. Maybe there's a typo there, but so what you do is you start with the concept, the first concepts, you do mood boards, you talk with the clients, you try to understand the vision and try to make the vision come through the key arts that you do with your artists. That's the execution part, and then the whole production, jumps on the ideas like hungry wolves, and they start to build a reality out of the drawings that we make. And then I have to supervise if it's the same thing that we agreed on with the client. So it's a little bit hectic. So you start from a designer chair, sitting in like a presenter chair and then sitting next to the director, and it's like, this is not the grass we agreed on. And so it's going to be a little bit hectic. I'm gonna show a lot of pretty pictures. These are by my art team. So this is not my art, this is not my concepts. These are the stuff that I'm most proud of, my little team, and they are fantastic at their job. So because I didn't want to show you like, oh, it's just dry slides and no pretty art, and that's going to be boring though. But it's very important, I think, to say that I'm not a mental health professional. Everything I'm going to tell you is advice, and sorry to say it's first-hand experience. I had a nervous breakdown during COVID. So this is the stuff I usually tell my guys whenever they feel like they have to talk to me about their issues, their fears, because let's face it, as concept artists or basically creatives of any field, we are very self-conscious, but we have a very hard way to say it because everything that we are comes through the work we do and not the interpersonal things usually. And because it's what I usually call concept art is lonely fun, is that you sit in a dark room, as Michal said, for days and days and days, and you're doing the dragons and doing the things and the tanks, and you're like, oh, I lost track of time, I lost track of food, So there is a very easy way for us to slip into mental states that are not super cool, other than the flow, of course, which is very, very cool. So I chose this topic because Thomas before me, I knew that in this conference, in game days, there's going to be a lot of very cool people who are going to talk about workflow, anatomy, what do and don't do in the industry. But when we were discussing what to talk about, basically my guys said that nobody really talks about work-life balance. And this is something that we probably should. And I was really happy that Mikhail mentioned a lot of the issues. And he's actually a very good positive and negative example of what I'm going to talk about. So if we would have switched places, it would be perfect, but, you know, whatever. For us to come from a concept that we do to the reality that we already built in CGI, in 3D, and that is high enough quality for the client to like, yes, this is what I paid for, and they pay a lot, we have these dreaded three: deadline, quality, and budget. So my concept artists are usually in a very tough position. We don't really have a lot of time, or we don't have a lot of opportunities to do double takes. We usually have to nail the mood boards. Based on the mood boards, we have to nail the concepts almost immediately, because basically we have the clients already gave us all the input, the production is waiting for directions to start working, and we have to do basically the previs of how the end product is going to be. And we are working, in my department, we mostly work on key art, keyframe art. So we are, if someone doesn't know, it is basically a close rendering of the final frame of the image, of the movie that we're going to do. So there's a lot of reality. Let's say there's a lot of production reality in each of our pictures. It can change, you know, through the 6-7 months of a trailer. When we work in production, it can change a lot, but it's probably going to be in the same wheelhouse. If I would show you all the pictures of this was the key art, this is the end product, you would see it's very, very close. So these are pressures that we have to deal with every day. Doesn't matter how high level you are, how high level your company are, it's going to be the same three things. For a concept art, it is usually the first two things. Like, I have set amount of time, I have to reach a quality, and I have a couple of tries that I can do, and after that, we are in trouble. So what is burnout? How does it come up in our work life? It's mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion. It is sneaky. It is not something that happens like when you break a leg. It happens over time. My personal experience was that I wanted to work at Digic or a company like Digic my whole life. This was my dream job. This is something I plan to do for the rest of my life. So I'm not gonna say that I don't get excited when a new AAA game or some people from Ubisoft knock on the door. They want to do a new cinematic for Assassin's Creed. My heart skips a beat every time. So it's not the same as Mikhail, like Warhammer, check. We are a little bit more. We are nerds first, so we are like, ooh. And so yeah. The first thing I noticed personally is that I'm very passionate about what I do as an art director and as a nerd. So it was, for me, very, very sudden when I realized that this is burnout, basically stress that you don't do anything with, plus time. That's burnout. This means that, I don't know the exact statistics, but almost 75-80% of grown-ups will face it in their life, and almost 20% will struggle with it for a long time. So the first thing that I noticed is that I started hating what I do. And that's not in my character, to hate what I do because I live for it. This is my calling. I never really wanted to do anything else, and I'm very happy doing it. So it was not that, oh, this project I hate, or we had an argument with this colleague yesterday, and it's really hard to get out of bed. No, I can't get out of bed. And that was like, I hate doing it. I don't want to log on. This was during COVID. I don't want to look at the stuff they are making. I just want to check out. In my mind, I started making excuses about what can I say for me not to be, so you don't have to log in. And so one of the first things, because there are other things that you're going to notice, but this is probably the first that is the big red flag, is that I used to be passionate about this stuff, and now I don't want to look at it. I don't even want to think about it. This next thing is going to be probably one of the first things that's gonna happen, and this is something that overlaps with depression, so it's very hard to spot, is that you are always in a bad mood. You're snappy, you are going to be rude, you have a shorter temper than before, and this is also something like, it's not like I have a bad day, this is not characteristic of me for start arguments for argument's sake or something. You shut down. This is very hard because through time, you start losing that passion that we talked about, and emotionally you close. And physically, you're exhausted all the time for no reason. Like, I had a long weekend, didn't do anything, I was just watching shows, but I still shut down, and I don't know why. And I'm not passionate about, I can't finish like an episode in a series, I can't finish a movie, I'm bored with the games I play, I'm bored with the books I read, the comic books. What's up? And you don't really, it's very good to have someone like an outside reference who's going to say to you like, oh, is everything okay? But you are going to disconnect. That's the other thing, because you hate your thing you love, and you must be something wrong with you. And along the way, you kind of draw back from other people, from your family. As Mikhail said, and it's a terrible example, I mean, terrible things to live through, but you might have breakups. You will create problems in your relationship, in your family. And that's a terrible thing to go through, and you have no conscious idea why it happens. But you disconnect, you retreat, you don't meet your friends, you stay home, you don't do really anything, and it's terrible. And it ends in self-doubt, because it's very easy at this point to think this is something wrong with you personally. You're not talented enough, you are not, you start looking at Instagram, all the cool people who do all these very cool concept arts, and like, oh, I'm never gonna be as good as them, I might as well give up. There's a lot of intrusive thoughts at this stage when you reach self-doubt. And there is flavors of it. So it doesn't happen all at once. It's not like, as I said, it's not like breaking a leg. At the start, like a normal baseline, you're a positive person, you're happy to, oh, I got hired at Digic, I will work on Assassin's Creed, it's so cool. And you're managing and you're doing, but stress is usually piling up. You might slip here and there with a deadline, or the quality here is not as well as I liked. What I said about, I'm gonna refer back to Mikhail a lot, because he said a lot of stuff like, I did overtime that nobody asked for, I put in details that nobody wanted, stop spending our money, as he said, with the French. So this is the positive stuff. Next up is the edge. This is what I call the edge. It's a knife's edge. It's basically when you start trying to convince yourself that you can do it. Like, oh, it's 2 more days and it's done. Oh, it's just this week. Oh, just finish this project and then I can rest. Oh, just this and this and this and that. No. The thing with stress, it's like it's gonna start building a lot of hormones in your body that want you to push through, but they don't flush out really just by themselves. You have to stop and you have to take a break. Then I would call the next stage the burnout. That's where you actually get to the stage where I say, I don't want to look at this stuff. Like, this is when I can kind of still motivate myself, but it's harder and harder every time to do so. And in the burnout stage, I'm the one like, can't get up today. Can't get up, won't get up, I don't know how. Maybe I'm gonna be late for this meeting, maybe I don't even go, I don't know. The next point is the crisis, because it will start to mess with your life. You actually will call in sick because you don't want to go to a meeting. You will actually say to your friends that, oh, I have to, you're making excuses for things that you used to love and you used to want to do all the time. So it's weird. And when we have the chronic stage, I never get to this, and I'm really happy that I never did, because it will start manifesting in other psychological problems, emotional problems, and physical problems like high blood pressure. If you stay at home for a long time, you might get diabetes. So it's really, I don't want to scare you guys with this because you're young and sexy and positive, but this can happen. That's a thing. People go through this every day. You might not even know because they, got the little bits of themselves together just to go into the office and say hi to everyone with a smile. But some people are still here. They have lapses back and forth between the crisis mode. If you have like children and you're depressed after giving birth, it's something that can happen also. So yeah, this is something that you have to keep track of because it can be really bad for your career, especially for your self-worth, because you kind of think that this is something that is wrong with you specifically. So what can you do? What you can do is to try and prevent it. And Michal said a lot of very good examples that I'm also going to repeat like a parrot. So sorry if you've been here before lunch, but better to prevent, better to create like a routine than to fall into these traps. Take a break. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. No, I'm just joking. No, really, take a break. So it will sound weird, not very weird because the guys already talked about this before, but going for walks, doing physical exercise, getting the juices flowing. This is very good even if you have like a creative block, to make things part of your day that is not work, that is not art, that is anything else, but will get you out of the house, will get you moving, even if it's a walk. If you really do, I think I prefer nature walks because I can also like get a lot of resources. I can take pictures of bark and I can look at little brooks and I can look at how trees grow to be more authentic in my work. But this is the same thing why I go to museums and then galleries. So yeah, take a break. Look for help. It's not a shame. You shouldn't be ashamed if you go to ask for help. If you're in school, you might have counselors at school. You don't even know it because probably most people don't talk about it because, especially in post-Soviet countries, there's a stigma on any kind of mental health issue. So, I don't need to see a psychologist. I'm fine. I've been fine since 46 or something. No. You don't. This is not like a toolkit that you're going to be given when you're sick. Take an aspirin. We are not ready for a lot of things that happens in our lives, and you should go and look for help. It's from our own perspective. We have kind of like health insurance for mental health as well at the company. So if you have issues, then you can talk to one of the coaches at the company, and if they think it's necessary, they can and will recommend for you to see someone. It happens to everyone, especially after COVID. Like, we live in a crazy, crazy world, and it's very scary most of the time, especially the last couple of years, especially for us in Eastern Europe. It's completely fine to ask for help. Reach out. Lead your vor hippopotamus to water. Push through the discomfort. If you're at the stage, push through the discomfort and talk to your friends, go with your friends, be around people, be in social environments. And one of the most important things that also Michal said, try to cooperate. Even if you have like this issue with self-worth, that what you do is not good enough for you or the company you work at, you can still go and see someone about independent comic book. You can go and work with a guy who needs help figuring out some creative stuff for his board game. And through helping other people with their problems, your self-worth and your creative juices, you will not be able to help it. If you solve other people's problems, you're like, my problems are not that, you can do it, it's fine. The other thing is that you, whenever, and this is for whenever you feel like you're shit at your job or at your art or whatever, the internet is not the place to go. The internet is the last place you want to go for any kind of feedback when it's about your baby, your soul that you put into your art. You should ask friends, family. If you want to reach out, you can talk to and send it to your fellow artists. They are the mirror that you should look in, not the internet. The internet is a giant, it's not an evil place, it's a giant place where everything is there all at once and everyone has an opinion of something, but they never really think about what they're going to say or do. So to measure yourself against the vastness of the, of the cosmic internet, it's not a good idea. So, fishing for likes on Instagram, not gonna help. You want more, best case scenario, you get a lot of likes. The next time you don't get enough likes, you will be depressed, I guarantee you. So reach out, talk to your bosses at work, ask for their feedback. Do you think I'm shit? I feel like shit. Do I have to work on this or that? What direction should I take? What tutorials should I look at? You have to start involving people, because right now, in this stage, your fear, you're sitting down with your fear and nothing. There is no one to ping pong with about your feelings and thoughts and your work. So just reach out, ask someone about the stuff. Know your limits. This is very important after what Michal said. It's very hard, especially when you're at your dream job. Everyone wants to be the good broom that sweeps the best, and I can do this and that in 2 days, and look at I made a gift for it as well, and oh, wow, yes, no. This is why older artists were kicking him like, you don't do weekends. No. If you feel like the quality of the work that you have to put down, and this is an established quality mark, this is a benchmark someone left for you, you feel like you can't match it in the 2 days given, you let your art director know. You let your boss know, like, I'm not sure I can match it, I will try. This is the best I could do in 2 days, and I'm not ashamed of it, because you're still learning. We are all learning. We are getting good at stuff every day. And that's the benchmark you should have in front of you. You don't have to be as good as Tamás. You don't have to be as good as Roman Popov. You have to be better than you were yesterday, and that's it. Art is like, creative work is like that. You cannot help but get better at it with time. And you don't have to give up time with your family for that. It will happen. You can push it, you can try and focus on things and work on things that you feel that you're not the best at. But never give up your limits. You have to have boundaries about work. You have to have time for yourself, because that's the other thing about when I talked about shutting down. You can stop cleaning yourself. You can stop personal hygiene, like, I haven't washed my teeth in 3 days and I have this thing, but look, the Magic the Gathering card is ready. And I'm like, well done, you. If I'm the art director who has that feedback, I will get a personal call with you and we have to talk about your mental health, because that's not okay. I used to have an artist who basically told me, when we were like going our separate ways, he told me that, you remember all those very cool arts that I did for you? Do you know why they were so good? And I'm like, because you're a fantastic artist? He's like, no, because I put in weekends and nights, and this is why I missed the morning meetings, the morning stand-ups. And I'm like, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. Like, if you can't produce that quality stuff in the given time, you have to come and speak to me. It's not like you have to hide in a closet and don't do anything else but work. I don't want that. You will burn out. I don't want you to burn out. Nobody wants you to burn out. If you are at a normal company, be it a game company, be it basically any kind of company, if they don't have your best interest in front of you at all times, quit. just leave them, because people, what Michal said, squeezing people like a lemon, that's inhuman. You don't want to work with people like that. Rituals and routines. And this is very important, because one of the best things, and we were talking about with some of you before the talk, is that when we talk about pipelines, and do you do like a pre-render, do you do like a like a block out before you start drawing and stuff like that, basically the general workflow is going to be the same for most artists. They're not going to be like big solutions. I'm sorry, there's not going to be like these super the grails of concept art. What you can do, and something that you should do, is to build up these rituals and routines about work. How long I work in a given time before I get up and I'm going to go for a walk or something. You get into a flow, and I understand that you get really into something and you're going to go and do there. But it's a slippery slope. I just had I wouldn't say argument, my boss was letting me know that my concept artists still have, it's November, and we still have a lot of holidays. And I'm like, oh, that's a problem, because they didn't take days off. They didn't went on vacations, or I don't know, maybe not enough. So we have, it's winter, it's cold. They can take the holidays now, but what are they going to do before Christmas? Like, they're going to sit with the family and eating the cakes. And I'm like, is that something that, motivates you? And so, yeah, we have to talk about that next year, because I would like to see like a vacation plan or a holiday plan from everyone, because I fucked up. Like, I was like, oh my God, this guy still has like 14 days off? And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, I love my job. It's like, I don't care. You have to go on holiday. You have to relax. You're going home to Spain to your family. That's not gonna be, Nana will not let you go, like, you're so thin, eat this and that. And limit your input. This is something that we talked about. It's very important to get inspiration. As artists, we have these creative outputs and creative inputs, but it's very important that not to come up for air just when you feel like, oh, I had enough and now I want to look at other stuff. No, you should look at things that inspire you. You should look at things on the internet that is super cool and something that you strive for. Just don't overdo it. Because once you feel like that the comparison started in your head, like, oh, I'm not good enough because this and that, you should stop, immediately stop. That's not okay. Search for your inspiration elsewhere, watch movies, do other stuff. And this is the last thing. This is the biggest one, I think, that helped me the most. Do your own gig. And that's weird, because get well with more work? Didn't you just say that? Stop? No, not really. So you cannot help yourself then think about art, make art, even if it's just warm-ups, even if it's just, oh, I don't know what to do for the next 2 days because my game is in production. I'm gonna build my house where I grew up as a level designer, I guess, I don't know. So when you do your own projects, you should start small. You should have a deadline, and you should never overreach. Because if you are in a vulnerable state, if you are close to burnout, or you feel like you're burnout, getting these negative messages from yourself, like, look, you started this fantastic project, but you can't even finish this. That's a very bad thing. So start small. When you finished, then you move on to a bigger thing. This is for basically everything, and this is for every creative I know, is a very good advice. Second advice, don't call it a project, and it should not be a project. It should be a product. Give yourself a brief. Give yourself a deadline. Give yourself a set amount of pages, a set amount of things to do. because creativity works better within bounds, because if you have a project, it can go on forever and ever and ever, and you never finish, and you will just get bored with it, and you will feel bad, and it's never a good thing. You will say like, oh, cool, I wanted to try this stuff. I'm going to try to sell it on Etsy or Redbubble, or it can be the telephone case. Who cares? It's art. It's pretty. People want to buy it if you're willing to sell it. Make what you like. This is something that was incredibly cool in Mihal's presentation, is that remember the things that made you want to do what you do today. And go back to those things regularly. Check up on the things that made you passionate about stuff. What was the big moment that let you know, like, I want to make moments like this forever. This is what I want to do forever. And that's very important from another perspective, because I saw a lot of portfolios. I get a lot of applications at the company. And what I'm looking at usually is the authentic self that you really are, not trends. How well can you follow certain trends on Instagram or whatever? What is the geek shit you're into? Like, what is that really gets you going when we start talking about and you can't stop? That is the stuff I want to see in your portfolio. Yes, at the skill level that you're at, but not another rendering of House of Dragon or something. Like, not really. If I know what are the triggers, the buttons that I can push to motivate you, what are the projects I should steer you toward and put you on as an artist, that's perfect for me. If you're an unknown, then there's a chance you're going to end up on projects that you're not passionate about and are probably boring. Grow and explore. This is, when you do side projects, that is the thing. This is the perfect place for you to try out new stuff. Stuff you haven't really tried before, stuff you never really think about. Switching mediums, very cool idea. I don't know who thought about that, but it was a very cool idea. Like you used to do a lot of like real working with pastels and pencils and pens and ink. Go digital, try something else. You do a lot of digital stuff, try the analog stuff. You feel bad doing both. Do something entirely different. You go and join a class of pottery, work with clay, sculpt, try and learn to sculpt. I guarantee you that even one time you go and try to sculpt as an artist is going to be a big, big revelation for you. The first time you start working with forms in 3D, but with your hands, with your own hands. It's not, Blender, it's not ZBrush, actual clay. Going for painting with oils and pastels is going to be, if not anything else, a revelation how hard art used to be for when you do like classical techniques. And if you feel like none of that works, you can just switch all in all. You go and try to learn music. Go and try to play the piano. You're gonna be shit at it, but it's very different. And because you have a fantastic creative brain that is like a sponge, it's going to pick up things. Everything you try will add to your library of how to solve visual problems, how to deal with mass, how to deal with complex shapes, silhouettes and stuff. So just go and explore, grow and not just be stuck in your own medium for and experiment. Like, go crazy with your own stuff. That's the other thing I really like to see in a portfolio. Like, there was a lot of people who only send us the best stuff that you ever did, and it was like, I did this tutorial with Jama, and this is so cool and everything. I want to look at your weird shit and how you got to the thing that you did. So there was a lot of stuff in Mihal's talk that I wish I would see more of in portfolios. Like, how you construct images in your head and how you build your workflow, do like vertical slices, do these little snapshots of I was at this point and then I decided to, but it was a problem because, and I solved that, yes. But that's another thing, and it's very important. When you experiment, it's very good to somehow document what you do and find. First of all, if you're really into like Instagram and ArtStation, I think people really appreciate this stuff, like the behind the scenes stuff that you push to post. I'm into it. Like I look at more stuff for longer time that shows me how certain people got to certain developments. Then I look at the final pieces like, nice. So experiment. Okay, but how? How do I get all the 7 things together? What I usually say as an example is that if you're really into DC, if you're really into Batman, do like a switch, do a twist. Let's say Joker is now the son of a millionaire that he killed himself, and he has all the money in the world, he's also crazy. And we have Batman, who is a homeless guy, who is really smart, but a crazy homeless guy who is chased by the police. And do these 2 characters, give yourself like 1 week for each character, and then you have a product. It's two character sheets with, from the experimentation, expressions to the turntable or whatever poses you want to work with. If you feel it's really cool and you're feeling crazy and you never tried before, try to do, based on your turntables, you can try and sculpt it. Why not? Just, mess around, paint over it. You exactly know how the design looks. The other thing that I usually say is that you can do a comic book. If you really want to get better at, like storytelling through composition, a comic book is what, 28 to 32 pages, 5 to 6 panels per page. You can do it about your cat. You can do it about anything. And if it's like, cute enough or interesting enough and you post it, people will like it anyway. So if you need, outside positive feedback, you can go for cats, anytime. If you want to be really good at anatomy and character design, do like 1 Pokemon a day, or 1 Pokemon a month for like a year. That's 12 Pokemons with all the evolutions and all the special effects that you can do. And if you're into Pokemon, this is going to be like a perfect, because the passion that you have is going to come through in your designs. How deeply you understand what you like is going to go through. So for us, it's easy to see. When you make like, trendy stuff, I will probably see how technically excellent you are. But if I don't see the passion, it's just going to be one of the many, many things, because you will not have the insight of a fan, of a nerd, in this case. So this is really the end for me. And so if you guys have any questions, go ahead.
So yes, does anyone have any questions for Tamás? Yep.
Yeah, hello. Sometimes I feel like in my head I have 2 different minds. One is very rational, understands every problem, absolutely perfectly analyzes myself, what's wrong with me. And I'll also tell it out loud, like I'm aware of the problem. Mm-hmm. But the other mind is like always pushing myself further and thinks about how others rely on me and stuff like that. So if you have any advice on that case.
Other people are relying on you. You will have your job, your day job, and you have to perform at your day job all the time. The point, I think, here is to find the time for yourself as a creator, because sometimes, most of the times, there's a good chance you're going to work for month and month and month on something that you are not that passionate about, or you're gonna lose interest because you get bored with the same thing, working on the same 4 characters for a month. So, as I said, to find time for yourself where the 2 can connect, where you can try to there has to be one thing that the two parts agree on. Like, I can make money with this Sailor Moon, I'm just saying something, this Sailor Moon, redesign. I can sell it on somewhere if it's going to be like an issue of cost of living or anything. Then you can try and sell it on Redbubble or basically anything you do, I guarantee you someone will try to buy it if you let them. So that's one of the things. But reminding yourself every day that refocusing yourself on your work and the aspects of your work that you care about. Or you can ask your bosses like, I'm not really into this now. Can I help another department? Can we somehow make a switch for stuff? It's very important for you to communicate boundaries and issues that you have in yourself. Because if you are let alone with your own problems, you're not going to be able, you're going to ruminate, you're going to turn these over and over in your head. But if you start talking about it with people, they're not going to be like, oh no, we have to fire her, we can't, nobody is going to say that. Like, once hired, they hired you for a reason. It's a very, very good reason. You're very good at what you do. And so having these negative thoughts about yourself, this negative self-picture is very, very bad. And I think it's very good to explore them with someone early. It can be a friend. It doesn't have to be, like running. It can be your grandma. It can be your mom. People who care about you and can, strengthen your own self-image.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Yep.
Thank you for this real in-depth,
Not a doctor.
Yes. Because it's really not much talked about.
Yes.
And not in this depth of the stages,
Yes.
so you can identify quickly. I wonder, because you also mentioned that one of your guys kind of confessed after leaving. And I was thinking, do companies like yours think of having a dedicated person for the mental health? Because now I assume it's you because you're so empathetic and you have that space in your heart, but it still must take away your own emotional engagement with the guys. Were you thinking of having let's say part-time team leader, someone whose responsibility it actually is to check on your guys once a month or something like that?
So at Digic we have the group heads, the unit leaders, and it is our job as HR partners or part of the HR system to check up on our own guys and to have we are the first contact you can come to if you have any issues. I have people who have wars in their countries going on, and I have to be the first person who sits down with him and have a beer, and it has to be informal. We have to be close for them to be able to open up about stuff. So in Digic, we have the first person is usually your group head or your group lead, who is not your lead artist. He's not a professional boss. He can be the same person, but it's usually not. So he's the first person, and if they see something that is, okay, this is a deeper issue, then yes, we have mental health professionals on staff that you can talk to once a week, bi-weekly or however, and if they think that, oh, okay, we have something bigger here that we should explore, then they can recommend someone that you can see.
I think it's really great that you guys have within the structure of the company to make your artists know and knowledgeable that this is something we care for.
Yes.
So thank you. It was great to hear that.
Yeah. Do we have any further questions? I might be a little selfish here and do a two-parter, if that's all right. So obviously you've developed this kind of map and you've really kind of diagnosed the different stages that you've experienced with burnout or that you've seen in other people. So I was curious, one, do you kind of expect yourself to have a period in the future where you expect burnout, and how would you kind of diagnose yourself for going through that? And two, do you kind of have a strategy if you notice a colleague or an employee struggling and you think that they might be heading there? How would you approach them about talking about it?
So as I said, I noticed it in myself and I started hating the thing that I love the most, which is abnormal. This is not how I normally operate. So that's one of the things. If I see someone, and it happens, and it will happen, and I also go to therapy and I still work on the thing that we started during COVID, because immediately I had to go and see therapy. I felt, and it helped a lot. And I'm still working on it. I still have bouts with burnout because the world is burning.
Yeah.
So I myself is very, very empathetic about a lot of the struggles around the world. That's another thing that you should stop doom scrolling. If you feel bad, just don't look at the news. Make it 15 minutes in the morning. Never do it before bed. This is something that I think everyone knows since COVID. So yeah, yes, I'm not ashamed that I had problems with this. This also means that it made me responsible for myself more than anything before. It is very hard if you have people who depend on you, if you have children, if you have elderly parents that you have to, do, and you feel like you have to push yourself through for them. But it can motivate you short term, but long term, I think it's going to make everything worse because you're going to start feeling bad about all the things that you feel weak for, and it's just a terrible, terrible spiral to go down on. If I see it in a colleague, which I did, we immediately start to talk about it. Hopefully, and I'm very glad that we have a rapport with my colleagues that they know that they can come to me with this stuff. So they do. But if I see it on someone, then I usually, yes, I'm going to sit down and maybe show them this fantastic presentation. It's like, did you know that this happens basically to every adult in their lives at least once? So yeah. Nobody expects you to just suffer through and go like.
All right. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question? No, in that case, can we all just put our hands together and give a round of applause to Tamás?
Thank you so much.